Well, good morning. It's been a while since I've done a video, so I'm going to do one. And this is one of the yarns I dyed recently. And I did put a whole load of new yarns in the shop, but I think I'm keeping this one for me. I do rather like it very much. I mean, I like everything I do, obviously, otherwise I wouldn't do it. But I specifically like this. And there's this one too, which I haven't yet put in the shop because I haven't yet figured out what it is. I was rather remiss and didn't label as soon as I did. It is, I would say, blue-faced Leicester, cashmere and silk. But I will have to hunt through my little Facebook albums and find out what that is. And I am still knitting that pair of socks. I hadn't quite remembered how busy a litter of puppies makes one. But anyhow, I'm okay. I am knackered because I'm trying out a different exercise. It's on a what they call a cross trainer, which sort of, you make movements like you ski and it has no impact, but it makes one sweat, that's for sure. But it seems I can manage it. I don't know, my doctors said I've got to take it very easy, and we're just sort of practicing at the moment to see whether it's going to help me or hinder me. Because just actually doing it and finding I can do it, not without pain I might add, but I can at least do it, that doesn't necessarily mean it's good for me. I have to wait and see if there's any long-term effect, like will I be stuffed when I wake up tomorrow. Did you know that within the field of science you basically have materialists and duelists? Materialists are those that believe that the mind is the product of the brain, and when the brain dies, so does the mind, and so does the personality. Whereas duelists believe that the mind uses the brain and is in fact separate from the brain, is not created by the brain. But the voices that we hear are those of the materialists. They shout the loudest. And so consequently, I never knew this. I never knew that there were scientists who thought hokum to people like Richard Dawkins, who I personally think is a nice man. And I agree with almost all that he says, almost. But I find him very close-minded when it comes to the possibility that mind is separate from body and from brain. And quite simply, to say that there is no evidence is bollocks. It's a great big fat lie, in fact. It truly is. You see, there are people, materialists, who, despite the evidence, just will not shift, because it would mean having to completely alter the whole basis of their life, and perhaps of their life work. You see, and that's not really a great deal of difference from literalists when it comes to the Bible. You know, they cannot accept anything that's outside of that, and some materialists are like that when it comes to this subject, and yet they call themselves scientists. But they have human failings, we all do. The hardest thing about changing our opinion is that it actually can change your whole life, quite seriously. I know this to be true because I live my life based on lies. And I didn't know that, except that my life was horrendous. I was just miserable. And a wretched thing. You just wouldn't know that I am that person, that I used to be that person, if you knew me how I used to be. And there's only one person, two people, John and a lady that I've known longer than John, who's a very close friend named Judy. she knows who I used to be, and she said there's absolutely no comparison. And really all that changed is my belief system. And that was the most frightening thing for me, because it meant losing... See, people think that the process of growing or becoming spiritual... I don't like those terms, I have to say. The growing part, yes, but the becoming spiritual part, yes. I mean, honestly, people don't have to talk a lot of shit when it comes to spiritual. I was at a healing service. Now, I go for the hands-on healing. Not because I think I'm going to get up and dance after I've had the healing. Not at all. But it's a very, very relaxing experience. And for 20 minutes, half an hour... I leave my body and I don't feel the pain of it anymore, and I just feel so beautifully relaxed, and my mind goes off somewhere, and the heat that is generated by the ladies who give me the healing, my 3 hot ladies I like to call them, is just astonishing. But anyway, I overheard this woman sitting there talking about what she was going to do for this other. And of course, she then said, and when I work, I channel really high spirits, you know, very highly advanced spirits. And I'm thinking, oh, fuck off, you twat. And, you know, I get so annoyed when I hear that sort of nonsense, because they're up themselves. You know, it's like these people, I've heard people say that, you know, whilst I was tending the roses today, I decided needed to have a chat with the Archangel Gabriel. I thought, more like you needed your fucking medication, or to come down off that pedestal you've put yourself on. People talk a lot of twaddle, including me. This might be twaddle. However, I'm still going to twaddle on. And I've completely lost the point, haven't I? This always happens. I start off, and then I haven't got a damn clue what it was I was talking about. Growing, yes. You see, I changed from this terrified wretch to this wonderful example of humanity you see today, because I changed what went on in there. I learnt lots of different things, and I learnt that there were lots of different ways to think, and I learned also that people have a vested interest in keeping you thinking what they want you to think. The biggest struggle that we have is to be who we are. And it can be extremely painful to be who you are. I don't mean being who you are is painful. I mean getting to the point of being who you are is painful. I mean, I personally lost everything. My family. That's the phone. I'm not going to answer it. They can let it ring. Oh, hang on. I suppose I might. Excuse me while I do this. Hello, what are you doing still there?
I overslept, I'm just leaving.
Oh, right.
I think I must have forgotten to put the alarm on.
Okay.
Okie dokie.
Alright.
Yeah.
Alright, bye.
Bye.
Bye. Oh dear, somebody slept in. And, anyway. It's rather glib, but true, to say that we have choices. Well, we do have choices, but we don't necessarily know what the choices are. You know, and if you're brought up to think a particular way, and that there is only that one particular way to think, well, you're pretty stuffed. And you can't get out of that without help. Without coming to realise that there are different ways of thinking, and that those different ways of thinking can be much healthier. You pretty much know, really, how well your ideas about the world gel with what the world actually is, by how you're experiencing your day-to-day life. I mean, my day-to-day life, I'm happy, I'm content, I'm very pleased with who I am. I like myself. I don't want to change myself. I want to learn more and grow more. Who doesn't? Well, actually, I suppose an awful lot of people don't. They're quite happy where they are. but I just want to know more. You know, I look at programs about outer space and our universe and the possibility. Well, for a start, there are billions of stars just in our one little galaxy, and our little planet Earth is just this little thing on one of the tails of this galaxy that's sort of spinning around a centre black hole. And they're now thinking that black holes aren't black holes, that they're tunnels, and that there's another side to them, and inside that's the universe, another universe. And in fact, our universe could well be inside a black hole. I find all that absolutely fascinating, and I want to know more about it, and I look forward to dying because I think that's when I'll know more about it. I tend to think of the survival of our physical body as a scientific thing. I don't think, you know, that it's all harps and angels and God sitting on a throne. I mean, look what God, or man's idea of God, look what they've done to this planet and to us, and the sheer misery that they have caused and are still causing on a daily basis. I mean, these Muslim men that have just been found guilty of inciting hatred towards people like me because they think we ought to be burned to death or hung or killed in some other barbaric way because the Quran says that homosexuals are evil. Oh, and before you go on saying, well, I told you that's what Muslims are like, all Christians are just the same. I've had the same shit from Christians. The only thing is they tend not to write it in pamphlets. They just say it straight to your face, and you can't do anything about that. Or you get people like bloody Ann Atkins who lies about gays on Radio 4 and is still paid by the fucking BBC to appear on programmes, and I'm just astonished. If she had said any of what she says about gay people, about black people, she just would not be on our TV. And the same goes for Melanie Phillips and Anne Widdecombe and all these other homophobes who say the most wicked lies about us. Like, for instance, that the average age of death for a gay man is 43. Pardon? And that 97% of all paedophiles are gay. Pardon? You've got to have no fucking brain to believe any of that. And she goes on live programme and says that nonsense. Obviously has absolutely no idea what paedophilia is. It's a sexuality all on its own for a start. And, you know, the victim is either a boy or a girl. They're not fussy. You know, and it has absolutely nothing to do with adult sexuality whatsoever. And the vast majority of children that are sexually abused by men and women, but mainly by men, who in their so-called normal life are heterosexual. But anyhow, I've really gone off track again. But people like that just are evil. They have they're in a situation where they can spread love and peace. Instead, they decide to spread hate and disinformation. And that's just evil. It really is. I mean, if you have an opportunity to have a public voice, then you need to do something good with it, not something evil with it. And, you know, the excuse that she's a Christian doesn't absolve her from being a bloody evil moron. She has absolutely no intelligence at all if she can believe that sort of nonsense. Well, of course, she is an intelligent person, and this is exactly what bigotry and prejudice does. It makes you appear like a complete and utter twat. Do you know where this idea that gay men only live till 43 came from? An obituary column in a gay newspaper during the AIDS epidemic. Of course, the big dirty secret is that the vast majority of people with HIV and AIDS in our world are they're not gay people and they're not white. But shh, we can't say that. No, unless somebody might think you're a racist. But we can still carry on blaming the queers and say what we like about them. You know, John and I are getting married on July the 7th, and we still have this nonsense people can still say it on TV without any comeback. She got no comeback. She never apologised, even though the BBC adjudicated against her and said she was wrong to have said it. She didn't apologise, and she still appears on their programmes. But as long as there are people like me who understand exactly what side of the fence she's on, they won't win. And they won't. I really do believe that the goodness of people eventually will win out. And I believe that everybody is capable of change. So why I might call her an evil moron, that's only for now. I believe that she is as full of light and love as we all are, just needs to uncover it. To me, that's what life is about. It's about uncovering the shit that hides our light. And, day by day, little bits of it fall off. That's if we're working at it. Otherwise we might be pulling more bits of shit to us and, patting it on and making sure it stays there and it goes hard and horrible. We've all seen people that happens to. Mustn't ever let that happen. If you can't change, you're fucked. It's as simple as that. And you remain in your misery. And I believe that you remain in your misery until such times as you decide you've had enough. And I believe that continues after physical death as well, because we are our minds. We're not our bodies, we're our minds. We are who we are. And just because we're dead doesn't mean we suddenly become more wonderful. Oh, no, 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 no. If you're a complete and utter bastard or a complete and utter bitch before you die, just the process of dying doesn't suddenly make you Mr. and Mrs. Wonderful. No, it doesn't. And you can either accept change or not. It's up to you. It's no different to here. If you're loved, you can reject that love. And it can't really be forced upon you. And I know this to be true. You see, I never really recovered until the day I had the epiphany, when I realised that everything had been done to me. The verbal, the emotional, the sexual, the physical abuse, the rejection, all had to do with the people who treated me this way. In other words, the problem had been them all along. It had never been me. They didn't do to me what they did to me because of who I was. They did what they did to me because of who they were. And that was the day I accepted love. That's the day I understood. And no amount of telling me that would work. You can't tell that to somebody. But you see, I had people around me who loved me and who were prepared to keep loving me. There were people who fell by the wayside. There were people who ended up abusing me even more. There were people who didn't understand at all. And, who damaged me further. But, strangely enough, of those that damaged me further, I have to say that the more pain I had, in the end, is what caused the breakthrough and my massive change of perspective. Without the pain, I wouldn't have. And I'd possibly be the way I was brought up to be, and I'd be horrified if that would be the case. I do not want to be a judgmental, unforgiving, always think I'm right sort of person. I could become like these fundamentalists. That's the sort of mind I was taught. And I just thank goodness that isn't me now. Anyway, so that's what I had to say today. I didn't know I was going to say any of that. I hope you have a good day, and if you did manage to get this far, this is 19 and a half minutes so far, or 19 and 36 seconds now. If you did manage to get this far, you earned yourself a gold star. Have a good time. Bye.